The tiny white M on each candy looks like the simplest part of an M&M, but in a factory that little mark is one of the final tests. It has to land on a hard sugar shell without cracking it, smearing it, or knocking the candy out of place. Before that can happen, a plain chocolate center has to survive mixing, shaping, tumbling, coating, drying, coloring, polishing, sorting, and packaging. So how do factories turn soft chocolate into millions of shiny candy pieces that all look almost exactly the same? It begins with the chocolate. Inside the factory, the first stage is not colorful at all. The process starts with the milk chocolate mixture made from cocoa ingredients, sugar, milk ingredients, cocoa butter, and small amounts of ingredients that help the chocolate flow smoothly. These materials move into large stainless steel mixers where they are blended into a thick glossy mass. The chocolate cannot be too thick, too thin, too warm, or too cold. It has to move through pipes and nozzles, but it also has to become firm enough to hold a tiny rounded shape later. Workers and control systems watch the temperature, texture, and flow as the chocolate moves from mixing tanks into the next part of the line. Once the chocolate is smooth, it passes through controlled heating and cooling. This step helps the fat inside the chocolate set in the right way. Too much heat and the chocolate stays soft. Too much cooling and it may not flow cleanly through the forming machines. The factory needs chocolate that can be shaped fast, then hardened without losing its smooth texture. Now the candy begins to take form. The warm chocolate moves toward depositing machines. These machines release small measured amounts of chocolate into molds or forming equipment. Each drop has to be close to the same size, because every later step depends on the center being consistent. If the center is too large, the shell may be too thin. If it is too small, the finished candy will not match the rest of the batch. At this stage, the pieces are still plain chocolate. They do not have color. They do not have shine. They do not have the printed letter. They're just small brown centers, soft enough to shape, but firm enough to move. But how does a soft chocolate center become so smooth and round? The answer is tumbling. The centers are carried into rotating drums, where they roll over each other again and again. As the drum turns, round edges are softened. Uneven spots are worn down. The pieces become smoother and more rounded, preparing them for the shell that will come later. This step matters because the sugar shell can only coat evenly if the center has the right shape. A rough center could create a weak spot. A sharp edge could break through the coating. A misshaped piece could travel badly through the printing and packaging machines. After tumbling, the centers are cooled and hardened. They need enough strength to survive the most important stage in the whole process, the coating. The chocolate centers now enter large rotating pans. These pans are tilted and constantly moving, so the centers roll in a controlled flow. At first, they still look like plain chocolate. Then spray nozzles begin adding a thin layer of sugar syrup. This is where the familiar candy shell begins. Many people might imagine the shell being molded around the chocolate in one quick step, but that would make the coating too thick, too uneven, and too sticky. Instead, the factory builds the shell slowly, one thin layer at a time. As the pan rotates, the syrup touches the moving centers. The pieces roll through it, spread it across their surfaces, and separate again. Warm air or controlled airflow helps dry the coating before the next layer arrives. Why does the factory dry the shell between coats? Because wet candy sticks. If too much syrup is added too quickly, the pieces would clump together. The surface would become uneven, and the shell would lose its clean crunch. Drying gives each thin coat time to harden before another coat is added. So the process repeats. The centers roll, the sprays hit, the coating spreads. Air dries the layer, then the next coat begins. Little by little, the chocolate disappears under a pale candy shell. The pieces become stronger, their surfaces become smoother, their shape becomes more stable. What started as soft chocolate is now becoming a small candy built to survive fast machines, shipping, and warm hands. This coating stage is one of the most controlled parts of the factory. The syrup must be the right thickness. The pan must turn at the right speed. The drying air must remove moisture without damaging the chocolate inside. If the shell dries too slowly, the pieces stick. If it dries too fast, the coating can become rough. At this point, the pieces may still be light or plain in color. The bright outer color comes later. Separate batches are made for different colors. One batch may become red, another yellow, another green, another blue, another orange, another brown. This separation helps the factory keep the colors clean and consistent. The color is added with another coating syrup near the end of the shell building process. Now the pieces begin to look familiar. Inside the coating pans, the color slowly covers the shell. The candies tumble through the colored syrup as it spreads across the surface. Once again, the layer must dry evenly. A wet surface would smear, stick, or pick up marks from other candies. A dry surface becomes firm enough for polishing. So what stops the colored pieces from looking dull? The factory adds a finishing stage. The candies pass through polishing drums, where the surface is smooth and finished. A small amount of glazing material gives the shell its shine and helps the pieces flow freely without sticking together. The difference is easy to see. Before polishing, the candies may look flat and slightly rough. After polishing, they have the bright, clean surface people expect when a bag is opened. By now, the center is sealed inside. The shell has been built in layers. The color is dry. The surface is shiny. But the candy is still missing the detail that makes it recognizable. The white M has to be printed. This step looks simple, but it requires careful handling. The candies are guided into small pockets on a moving conveyor. These pockets hold the pieces in place so the top surface is exposed. Above them, soft printing rollers carry edible white ink. As the conveyor moves, the roller touches each candy for a moment. The contact has to be light enough to avoid cracking the shell, but firm enough to leave a clear mark. If the candy shifts, the letter can land off-center. If the shell has a flaw, the print can smear or break. How does every piece get marked so quickly without being crushed? The answer is gentle repetition. The machine does not press hard like a stamp on paper. It rolls over the candies with controlled pressure, touching the shell just long enough to transfer the mark. Then the pieces move away, now carrying the small white letter. After printing, the candies pass into inspection. The factory cannot rely on the pieces simply looking good from a distance. Cameras and sorting systems scan them as they move along conveyors. Pieces with broken shells, strange shapes, weak color, missing print, or surface damage can be removed. Workers may also check samples from the line to make sure the color, shine, shell, and chocolate center are staying consistent. This is also where safety checks become important. The candy may pass through metal detection or other screening systems before packaging. Each batch must be clean, properly labeled, and safe for the type of product being packed, especially when nuts or other allergens are involved. The pieces that pass inspection are ready for mixing and packing. Because colors are made in separate batches, the factory combines them before they reach the bagging machines. Streams of finished candy move together on conveyors, creating the familiar mix of colors. The pieces flow like small beads, now hard enough to pour, count, weigh, and seal at high speed. Packaging starts with weighing. The candy drops into multi-head weighing machines. These machines divide the pieces into small groups, then combine them until each package reaches the target weight. When the correct amount is ready, the candy falls into a packaging machine below. Flat printed packaging film moves through rollers and forming collars. The machine shapes the film into a bag, seals the sides, drops in the measured candy, then seals the top. Each sealed bag is cut free and carried forward on the line. At this stage, the factory checks more than just the candy. It checks the package too. Machines confirm that the bag has the right weight. Sensors can check that the seal is closed properly. Date and lot codes are printed so each package can be traced. Labels and packaging must match the product inside, especially for varieties that contain peanuts, peanut butter, almonds, or other ingredients. The finished bags move toward case packing. Some are packed into cartons for stores. Others may be prepared for larger retail boxes, vending packs, or food service customers. Cartons are sealed, stacked on pallets, wrapped, and moved into storage. From there, the product leaves the factory through distribution centers and trucks. What begins as chocolate in stainless steel tanks has become small polished pieces with a crisp shell, bright color, a printed mark, and a sealed package ready for shelves, theaters, vending machines, and kitchen cabinets.